Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. How you doing? Look, man, I don't know about you, but something's going on for sure when it comes to Devin Haney and his pops. I don't care what you say. That face-off between Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr., when you start seeing fighters get out of character and start doing things like jumping around and trying to hype themselves up, it's all an act. Let me tell you something. Devin Haney, to me, he's already lost the fight against Brian Norman Jr., and the face-off matters. And I think that the face-off between Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney is one of the most revealing confrontations of the year. You know, you just don't see most fighters do that, and Devin Haney's never been a guy who does that. What you've seen him do is get in people's faces and try to intimidate them and punk them. He's even shoved people. He didn't try that shit with Brian Norman Jr., you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you right now, it has nothing to do with the talk. Forget the talk. For all of y'all talking about, well, this person said this and this person said that, forget that. What about what their body said? What about what their energy communicated? What about that behavior under stress? What about those things? What did they communicate? Let me tell you something. Boxing is physical combat. But the first battle always begins before punches are even thrown. We all know that. And that face-off, I think it gave fans an unusually clear window into confidence, anxiety, identity, family roles, and then the power dynamics between the Haneys and the Normans. Now, as far as Devin, that uncharacteristic energy, jumping around and hyperactive, I didn't know what he was doing. I thought maybe he had a kangaroo burger or some shit. The way that man was bouncing around on stage and looking dumb. We know Devin Haney built his brand on being calm, being calculated, trying to be sharp, emotionally controlled. But at the face-off, he just behaved in a way that it surprised everyone, even his longtime fans. This hopping around, this twitching, all this pacing, just exaggerated gestures, smirking. Everything seemed forced. Nothing about what Devin Haney did seemed natural. It seemed forced. Trying to carry a kind of, I guess, competitive energy, but it just looked like nervous energy to me, you know what I'm saying? I did some research because I'm like, what the hell is that shit called? And behavioral analysts, they call this pattern overcompensation behavior. So there you go, Devin Haney with his overcompensation behavior. Now, you got to understand why a person will conduct themselves like that. Maybe Devin Haney's feeling challenged. He should. Maybe he feels threatened. He should. Maybe he feels unsure. He should. Or he feels emotionally cornered. And this is where a person like Haney may switch into exaggerated confidence displays to convince others and themselves that they're in control. That perfectly sums up Devin Haney. Now, let me give you a couple examples of overcompensation in confrontation psychology, right? Laughing too hard at nothing. That's Clarissa Shields. Talking more than usual. Moving excessively. Performing dominance. Let me tell you something. When you start performing dominance behaviors out of character, trying to act tough, trying to be the big tough guy, the big bully, and that's not you, makes people wonder what the hell's going on. And then this artificial hype to mask internal tension. That's Devin Haney right there. So when you think about these examples of overcompensation, shit, all that shit really applies to Devin Haney. Running up on Brian Norman Jr., you know what I'm saying? Talking more than usual, trying to come out here and try to intimidate him. Even Devin Haney with the fake laughing and all that. That's him. It's part of that confrontation psychology. He's uncomfortable. So you say, all right, you say all that. What does it mean for Haney? What does it mean for Haney? I think he's a fighter trying to mentally fake dominance. I think he's still struggling with the Ryan Garcia shit. I mean, we've seen it happen before in boxing. I'm not going to rehash what happened between he and Ryan. We all know. But I think that's what it is. He's trying to mentally fake dominance. I think he's a fighter who feels pressure to appear confident. Even his dad is overcompensating. His dad doesn't appear confident. You know what I'm saying? And he knows that the moment is way bigger than usual. This is no normal fight moment for Devin Haney. You know what I mean? Because he's looking and he's sensing that Brian Norman Jr. is a legitimate physical threat. So it doesn't mean that this automatically equals fear. What this means is that, you know, there's an internal conflict going on with Devin Haney. That's that fight or flight response. He looked like his ass want to flight more than fight. Can't blame him when you see somebody, you know, breaking bones and shit in the ring, and you got to get in there with him. So a lot of y'all would say, you're reading into it too much. You're wrong. I mean, fans are going to read into it. I'm going to read into it. I mean, you know, when you see somebody acting out of character, it stands out. And that's the thing. You got Devin Haney is an elite fighter, suddenly changes who he is during a confrontation. That signal is meaningful. Okay? Haney's brand has always been, like I mentioned, being professional, being calm, cool as a cucumber, composed. Now he's acting fidgety, he's acting reactive, overly animated, unusually emotional, man. You know, fans aren't crazy for noticing. I'm not crazy for noticing, and I'm not crazy for doing a video about it. You gotta understand that confrontation science. Baseline deviations matter. He's deviating from the baseline, from the norm. That's what Devin Haney's doing. You know? And for those of you saying, what the hell does that mean? Well, baseline means your normal behavior pattern. Okay? When the baseline breaks, it signals mental or emotional pressure. That's Devin Haney. Now, as far as Brian Norman Jr., my man is out there stoic and ice cold. Consistent energy since the fight's been announced to now. While Haney been out here all animated, all Sesame Street, Brian Norman Jr. been standing there like a stone pillar. No extra movement, no forced expressions, no nervous gestures, nothing. No lights, camera, action, bullshit. And this is powerful. You see, stoicism, y'all got to understand what that signals. It means there's some self-trust, not self-doubt like Devin Haney. That means you're ready, not like Devin Haney being ill-prepared. That means that you're comfortable in conflict because you know what you can do, not like Devin Haney who's unsure what he can do. That means that you're in emotional control, unlike Devin Haney and his team who are all over the place and irrational. And that means you have belief in the outcome, knowing what you can do, looking at your last few performances and saying, you know what, I'm only as good as my last fight. So if that's the case, I'm going to kill this dude. For Devin Haney, he look at his last few fights and says, I'm only as good as my last fight. That means that he's going to get his ass destroyed. You know, Brian Norman Jr. is a man who walks the walk, has the look, and he means business. He ain't here to be a clown in a circus. He ain't here to be a spectacle. This ain't a social media performance. Nah, not at all. He is here to get the job done. So I'm just telling you what this does psychologically. It intimidates opponents. That's what happened. Devin Haney's intimidated. Makes them feel louder than they intend to be, expose their anxiety, and shift the power dynamic. So Brian Norman Jr. he's in the driver's seat. And I'm going to tell you this, when one man is silent and the other is overly expressive, the expressive one often appears less grounded, even if he's physically talented, and Devin Haney appears less grounded, in my opinion. Now, it ain't just about the kids, it's about the fathers. The father dynamics. Bill Haney versus the Normans. Bill Haney is all over the place. And this is one of the most revealing parts of the confrontation to me. I'm just watching the fathers. I'm like, what's going on with old Beijing Bill? What's going on with old man Norman? I'm like, okay, Bill Haney. I did notice old Bill Haney. He elevated his voice, projected confidence, and inserted himself repeatedly. I'm watching. I'm like, well, what the hell is all that about? But when tensions escalated, you see, he knows when to remove himself. and that's what he did. And I'm like, yeah, you gotta really understand and try to analyze the behavior, because I interpret it as him being defensively blustered. You know what I mean? He's just out there just acting like a cockahole. I just think it's like verbal dominance without physical follow through. Just making a grand charge, but we're not really wanting to do anything. Just creating a damn scene like a fool. And again, there's Bill Haney trying to control the narrative, but he don't want to control the physical space, because Bill Haney, trust me, he doesn't want anything to get physical. He just wants to make noise and be Don King and promote. But he crosses the line, he makes threats, and he talks shit. But he only wants it to go so far because he realizes it's entertainment. But I do think that the Haneys are intimidated. So I just think it's indicative of Bill Haney trying to, protect Devin. I think he's feeling pressure. I think he senses danger. I think he's trying to keep that image strong, because a lot of people realize that Devin doesn't look like he has confidence. A lot of people feel Devin Haney's going to lose. And, it could be Bill just trying to come out here and keep the image strong. He could be trying to maintain control of the moment. He could be using words to keep distance from physical conflict, so that's his way of just, like, I don't want it to get physical, but I'm going to sit here and do my thing. Maybe my words will keep them over there. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of fans that see this shit as fear. Others see it as father knowing his limitations and responsibilities. I see it as a little bit of both. But one thing for sure that I've observed the Norman's composure. Both Brian Norman Sr. and Jr., they're showing no panic, no overreaction, no emotional overextension, no need to elevate their voices, no retreat. And for me, this calmness, especially when the other side escalates, sends a powerful message of we know what we can do and how far we're willing to go. And that when you run into somebody like that, they're dangerous. But don't get it wrong, because are Devin and Bill Haney scared of the Normans? I think we got to separate emotion from analysis. What do these damn behaviors suggest? Devin's energy looks reactive rather than assertive. Bill's behavior looks protective rather than aggressive. And both appear aware of the risk. Brian Norman Jr. hits extremely hard. And then with the body language, what the fear looks like, you can just see that excessive movement, too much talking. This is all fear. Breaking that baseline, retreating under pressure, and increased volume to mask discomfort. And we saw multiple signs that Devin and Bill feel the gravity and danger of this matchup. That's why they're acting like that. So, does this mean they're scared? Not necessarily. But it means that they understand what they're up against. Brian Norman Jr. is not someone you can just lose focus against. He's not someone you play with. He's not someone that you can style on. You know what I'm saying? He's someone who can knock you out, and they know that. So does this mean Devin knows he can get knocked out? Hell yeah. Fighters know their opponents better than fans ever will. They know what time it is. They know you get a guy who's knocking people out like that, there has to be something special about those hands. So for me, Devin's behavior showed that he's got some awareness. He knows that there's a threat out there. There's some emotional agitation that he's got to figure that out. There's some internal pressure. I think he feels a sense of urgency to try to assert his dominance early and get that respect. I think there's a possible subconscious fear and possible anxiety about being hit. He doesn't want to relive what he went through with Ryan Garcia. What makes the situation worse is that Devin's last few fights showed lower punch output, hesitation, less snap, growing cautiousness and concern about taking damage. And I just think against a pressure fighter like Brian Norman Jr., Any hesitation from Devin Haney is shit's going to get exposed. Simple. So the bottom line is when I look at Devin Haney, I look at Brian Norman Jr., I look at Bill, I look at Brian Norman Sr. For Devin, I just think if I try to understand this from the perspective of psychology, Devin has overreactive behavior. He's, again, deviating from his norm. Looks like he's trying to overcompensate. There's visible pressure on Devin Haney, and he's trying to control the narrative because he feels the risk of the fight. He knows this fight is no joke. And for Brian Norman Jr., he's still out there chilling in the breeze, stoic, grounded. He ain't out here trying to perform like he in a circus. Nah, he's just showing confidence, comfortable in the confrontation, and he's just sending unconscious, dominant signals. And they are registering in the minds of Devin Haney and Bill Haney. Now with Bill Haney, he just always loud, always trying to, establish dominance. But he's another same guy, man. You watch him, those escalations, he was retreating. And I think he's stressing, and he's trying to protect his son, but he knows when his son gets in that ring. Don't be surprised if Devin gets hit with one clean shot, Bill throws in the towel. Because, he doesn't want to see his son get hurt. And he knows what his son went through with Ryan. And for Norman Sr., he just there, calm, steady. He ain't intimidated. He's confident in his son. He's not worried about a damn thing. So again, with this confrontation psychology, calm beats chaos almost every time. And I think that's what we're going to see when Devin and Brian Norman Jr. get in the ring. There's a calm Brian Norman Jr. beating the chaotic Devin Haney. And I tell you what, I'm going to feel bad for Devin because I do think that the Ryan Garcia fight took a few pounds of flesh out of him. I think that affected his confidence. At the end of the day, it's boxing, shit happens. And I just think Brian Norman Jr. gets him between round 3 to round 5, 6 at the latest. Brian Norman Jr. knocks him out. Y'all keep cool, I'm in the breeze.